break statements, continue statements, and pass statements. Loop control statements in Python are special instructions that allow you to alter the flow of a loop. There are three main loop control statements: break, continue, and pass. Break statement. The break statement is used to exit a loop prematurely before it has completed all its iterations. Example, for I in range of 5, if I equals 3, break, print I. So if I at any point equals 3, it will break out of the loop. The output would be 0, 1, 2. In this example, the loop is designed to run from 0 to 4. However, when I reaches 3, the break statement is executed, causing the loop to terminate early. Continue statement. The continue statement is used to skip the rest of the loop's code for the current iteration and move on to the next iteration. Example, for I in range of 5, if I equals 2, continue, print I. The output would be 0, 1, 3, and 4. In this example, when I is 2, the continue statement is executed. This skips the print I statement for that iteration and moves on to the next value of I. Pass statement. The pass statement is a no operation statement. It is used when a statement is syntactically required but don't want to execute any code. Example, for I in range of 5, if I equals 2, pass, else print I. The output would be 0, 1, 3, and 4. In this example, when I is 2, the pass statement is executed. It doesn't do anything, but it allows the loop to continue without causing an error. Lesson 2, Nested Loops. This lesson has 2 topics, introduction and then examples. Introduction. Nested loops in programming refers to a situation where you have one loop inside of another loop. This means that for each iteration of the outer loop, the inner loop runs through all of its iterations. Here's a simple way to think about it. Imagine you're baking cookies and you have a tray with rows and columns. You want to place a chocolate chip in each slot. You will start with the first row and go through each column and then move to the second row and so on. Here's an example. For a row in range of 3, for a column in range of 4, print F row, then our row number, column, and our column number. Here we have an outer loop that goes through the rows 0, 1, 2, and an inner loop that goes through the columns 0, 1, 2, and 3. The output will be row 0, column 0, row 0, column 1, row 0, column 2, and so on. So the inner loop runs through all the iterations for each iteration of the outer loop. So previously we spoke about loops. Now let's talk more about loop control statements. Loop control statements in Python are special instructions that allow you to alter the flow of a loop. There are three main loop control statements: break, continue, and pass. Let's first talk about break. The break statement is used to exit a loop prematurely or early before it has completed all of its iterations. For example, for I in range of 5. Actually, let's run this normal first. Print I. We run that and it prints 0 to 4 as we expect. Now let's add if I equals 3. We're gonna break. So now for in range of 5, so 0 to 5, if I equals 3, we're gonna break out of it. If it's not equal to 3, we'll simply just print it. We run that and it prints 0 to 4 as we expect. Now let's add if I equals 3. We're gonna break. So now for in range of 5, so 0 to 5, if I equals 3, we're gonna break out of it. If it's not equal to 3, we'll simply just print it. We run it and it prints 0 the first time. Then it prints 1. Then it prints 2. Then once it equals 3, here this value equals 2. Here this value now equals true. It'll break out of the loop. So when it's break, so when you see break, it will exit the loop. Even though we have numbers 3, 4, and 5 still to finish, once we hit the break point, it leaves the loop or exits the loop. Let's say this time it's 4 as our break. It'll print 0, 1, 2, 3. How about 5? It'll print all the numbers. Now let's talk about the continue statement. The continue statement is used to skip the rest of the loop's code for the current iteration and move on to the next iteration. So let's say instead of this we have continue. And change this back to 3. Let's clear this out and run our program. As you can see, it prints 0, 1, 2, and then 4. Let's talk about it. So first, I equals 0. If I equals 3, that is false, so skips this, and then it prints I. Next, I equals 1. Is I equal 3? No, skip this, and print I. Now I equals 2. Is I equal 3 yet? Nope, skip this, print I. Now I equals 3. If I equals 3, this is true. And we hit the continue statement. Because we activated continue, it will skip everything else for our loop for that iteration. So instead of printing 3, it will skip that and go right to 4. Does 4 equal I? No. Let's change this to the number 2. And as you can see, it doesn't print number 2. Once I equals 2, it hits this statement and then skips the rest of the for loop for that iteration of numbers. Now let's talk about the pass statement. The pass statement is a no operation statement. It is used when a statement is syntactically required, but you don't want to execute any code. So now let's have I equals 2, we're gonna pass. Else, we're gonna print the number. So if I equals 2, we do nothing. But if I does not equal 2, we'll print the number. We'll run this, and you see, it prints all the numbers except 2. Because when I equals 2, it's this pass statement here. Next we have nested loops. Nested loops in programming refers to a situation where you have one loop inside of another loop. This means that for each iteration of the outer loop, the inner loop runs through all its iterations. Here's a simple example. So here's an example for a row in range of 3. That's our outer loop. Then for our inner loop, we're gonna print each value. And run our program, and it prints row 0, column 0. So first, remember both these start at 0. So first we have row 0. Row 0 and column will be 0. Then row will be 0, column will be 1. Then we have row 1. Row 1, and then column will be 0. Row 1, then column will be 1. So for each iteration on the outside, this runs through all its iterations on the inside. And last but not least, for row 2. For row 2, it'll be column 0, and then column 1. And as you can see, it prints all the values here.